My next guest, Michael Lee Hill, is ready and waiting to go. Before I bring him on, again, I want to try to give him a bit of a wind-up here. He is a musician, and a pretty good one. In fact, I'm going to play a piece of his music later in the show. It's an instrumental piece that he sent me. He's a musician, and he's a UFO experiencer / chaser, and that's sort of the term that I'm coining, at least. And he seems like a really interesting individual. So without further ado, let's bring Michael on the air. Hello, Michael.
Hey, how you doing, Robert?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Well, good. You are. I wouldn't say this is your 15 minutes of fame, but your profile is certainly on the rise in the alternative news circles these days. How's that going for you in terms of being on these different radio shows and people wanting to hear your story and your experience with the UFOs?
You know, it's really just taking off right now. It's been pretty incredible, actually. The coverage that this story has been getting is just off the hook.
Well, I first read about you in a British newspaper, and that's how I found out about you. So, and then as I began to dig into your story a little bit, I thought, well, this guy's really kind of interesting. Can you kind of fill people in on, why, theoretically, why I'm talking to you today? But even more than that, the evolution of how you began to come in contact with these UFOs in your part of the world.
Yeah, well, I live very close to Lake Erie, and about 5 years ago or so, I was in the backyard with a buddy of mine, and we were looking, if I threw a rock twice really hard, I'd hit the lake. I'm really close. And we seen a UFO right over the lake, and I didn't get that one on film, but it sparked my curiosity to go down to the lake any chance I had and take my camcorder. I had a camcorder, didn't use it for anything, but that was about 5 years ago, so from then on, I've been down there filming, and I've amassed quite a library of these objects.
So obviously, there's a kind of a filtering system where people look at it and say hoax or debunked. Not a lot of that has come about with your videos, and that I think that's interesting. Can you talk about that?
Well, yeah. I mean, one thing, like Bill Burns from the History Channel, he had me on the UFO Hunters show, and he pretty much had just said that the fact that I'd learned how to use my camera and have it on a tripod, like I found out, take the autofocus off, because once it moves out of the frame, you're just screwed. So just little tricks like that. I've learned how to use the camera, and I'm sitting there waiting on them, and so it ends up being some pretty good footage. I wish I had a HD camera, but maybe here soon.
So one of the things that I've read in some of the press and the material around this is that not only are you waiting for them, they seem to be waiting for you at times as well. Isn't that the case?
Yeah, it's been really crazy. After I was on the History Channel show, 2 weeks prior to when they came to visit me, they had interviewed a gentleman named Terrell Copeland in Virginia. And he had filmed the exact same things as I had. He had the exact same story of contact, but he was a Marine, and he was discharged because he had a really rare unknown blood anomaly. And so unbeknownst to me, the History Channel was like, wow, wouldn't it be strange if this guy that's filmed the same thing, had the same story of contact, also ended up with the same unknown blood anomaly? So they just asked me if I'd be willing to fly to Boston to do a follow-up, and I'm like, sure. I didn't know what I was going for. Here they flew, he and I had our medical and blood work done by a Harvard professor, and sure enough, I have the same blood anomaly, and that was revealed on the episode Alien Contact. Well, that has opened a whole Pandora's box for me. Since that episode aired, everything Bill Burns predicted on that show, he told us, he said, I'm going to prove that you guys are hybrids, which that's pretty odd for someone to say,
Right.
And he said that he thought we were being prepared by a behind-the-scenes group to prepare us to meet these extraterrestrials. Everything he predicted has happened. This behind the scenes military-industrial complex group has contacted me and given me a course of study, so to speak, and all of this has led to actual face-to-face contact with actual beings, and they introduce themselves as the Anunnaki.
So you've experienced this. You've actually been face-to-face with these.
Yeah. I'm not talking channeling or anything like that. I went to a festival in 2008, and they were waiting there to talk to me.
Interesting. Was that a music festival?
No, it was actually a pagan festival. I'm not pagan, but I didn't know what I was really going to. A girlfriend of mine at the time, she had a metaphysical jewelry store, and she had been going to this festival called Sirius Rising. It's in New York in Brushwood. And so I just thought I was going on a camping trip.
Not your typical camping trip, was it?
No, not at all.
So they're there. They're at the festival. Were they in pagan garb? Were they, or what were they like? How did you come in contact with them?
Well, the one guy's name was Loki, and he told me at this time I had never heard of the Anunnaki. I'd never read a Zechariah Sitchin book or anything like this. He told me that they were Anunnaki, and he told me a lot about the mythology, and he kind of took me under his wing. So later that night, he had told me he was going to go back to the campground to make sure everything was buttoned down and safe. And there was this structure at this campground. Everyone called it the genie bottle because it was like a round structure, and once you got inside, it had these fabrics on each panel on the inside that was like, kind of like metaphysical stuff and like Indian looking. And once you got in there, it was kind of discombobulating. It was hard to find which one was the way out,
Right.
So when we got back to the campsite, Loki said, "Hey, there's some people in the genie bottle that have been wanting to talk to you." I said, "All right." And so I went into this genie bottle, and inside this round structure was a round couch, like a smaller round couch. And there was a male and a female on the bed. And he went on to tell me, first of all, the whole meeting started around me, and I'm sure you know who David Sarita is.
Only through your the stuff that I've read in conjunction with you.
Right on. David is I'm a big fan of his work, and that's actually how all this got started. But that's another story. David and I had collaborated on a documentary called From Here to Andromeda, and it had testimony by Boyd Bushman from Lockheed Martin. He's a senior scientist about anti-gravity, and revealed a lot of stuff about Roswell. Well, this individual was like, "We want to know what you know about this, because I work for a group of people who decide what gets released to the masses, revealing the extraterrestrial subject, and this information was never supposed to be released. You've caused a lot of problems for a lot of people behind the scenes and caused a lot of finger pointing." And he actually said he was a family member of the J. Allen Hynek family. And he said that that family is still in charge of releasing what gets released to the masses. He said J. Allen Hynek actually was very upset with the whole thing. Said that he would be told to say one thing one day, and then the next day they would make him totally contradict himself. You know?
Yeah.
But this went on to when they found out that I was the co-producer on this film, and he said, "Well, we need to know what you know." And they brought out like a wand that I could feel it stimulating my pineal gland, the third eye, And everything changed at that point. And he said, it went into actually the whole, like, up until that point, it was pretty much a hostile meeting.
Right.
And from that point forward, everything changed. He goes, "Oh, you're one of us," pretty much. And I know that sounds crazy, but he's like, "Well, it's a miracle that you've ended up here, and we've been waiting for you to have a council meeting. If you're game, we can do it right now." I said, "Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but sure." And they went on to just want everyone that was in that genie bottle. At that point, it was about 5 people. everyone's viewpoints on if mankind was ready for contact and what effect it would have on government and religion and economic systems and everything else. And at the end of that meeting, everyone was in, I had no idea why I was there, but I'll talk to anyone about, this subject because I'm absolutely a fan and a student of it. And they said that pretty much we will know Nibiru will be visible in our skies soon. They said there ain't no hiding this fact, so they wanted to know everyone's thoughts, and their conclusion was that we will have first contact with the Anunnaki, and humanity will be viewed as equals and be able to evolve now without any outside influences manipulating the situation,
So what did they look like?
They look like you and I see, this is a part of my education that I'm kind of confused at. Because I hear in their native state, they're like 16 feet tall albinos. They have white hair, red eyes, and they're very tall. But somehow they have created a bloodline here on the planet where they can incarnate into a human vessel that has more energy available at a cellular level. It's a bloodline. And when this happens, like this gentleman that I'm talking to, that the Anunnaki came through, when the Anunnaki came through, he became faceless. It was like there was no face whatsoever. And I asked him, I said, can I see your faces? And he said, you'll have to wait till tomorrow to see our true faces. And I'm like, okay. I thought that was interesting anyhow, because then I knew I was going to be with him the next day. But when we left that structure, I thought, screw it, I'm going to take a peek. What can be the worst that happens? When I turned around and looked, he looked translucent, like I could see right through him, like not really physical. I know it sounds cliche, but he did have almost like a reptilian gargoyle thing, but it wasn't scary at all. It was actually looked very regal, and so you got a translucent, almost like not quite physical being, and he had a robe that was emitting light that was on him.
Interesting.
And that ended that meeting that night.
So you go back to your tent with your girlfriend and you say, you won't believe what just happened, right? I mean, how did that go down?
It was funny because actually, because of her metaphysical jewelry store, she had booked another field trip, let's call it, to another place. I forget where it was. So she had to leave for a day, and I was there by myself when all this went down. Yeah, so she didn't know until she got back.
Okay, well that's interesting. And so have you had contact with these people since then?
Yes. And this is where it gets a little confusing for me, and I'm learning how the Anunnaki, it seems like they can communicate through different people. It's somehow, I'm not sure how this works, but I was in the hot tub with a really good friend of mine. Him and his wife have been friends of mine for about 15 years, and we were in the hot tub and we were talking, and it just went to a level of intelligence that I'd never talked to him on this level before. And I said, man, I go, you know you're not from around here, don't you? And he said, Michael, look at my face and tell me what you see. And when I looked at his face, he went faceless. And I said, wow, you look exactly like the person that I met in New York. And he said, bingo, nice to talk to you again. At this point, I was pretty freaked out, and I said, who are you? And he said, I am the muse. I inspire creativity, wit, and humor in the human race. I thought, well, all right, this is getting a little strange. So a couple minutes go by, and he goes, hey, do you want to see a movie that I inspired? And I said, sure. So we got out of the hot tub, and I looked, and his face had returned, which was good. So we went into the house, and he puts on this movie called Bat Thumb. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's a whole movie that was done with people's thumbs with a face superimposed over their thumb. And it was really funny. It's like a crazy comedy. And so Bat Thumb is going through this movie, and he comes against his arch nemesis, and guess what his name was? No Face.
No Face. Interesting.
Yeah, and my friend just looked at me and kind of grinned, and I got it.